Hi, I'm Shanali. Welcome to my bookish corner of the internet. In this video, I want to focus more on the bookish reactions, thoughts, what I felt, how I felt, all those parts, barring the bookish review. Reviews I've done individually for all the books that I've read in the month of April. So let's get into it. First up I have is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It was recommended by the librarian in the bookstore I went to buy books from my TBR list. This is a whimsical find. I'm glad the librarian recommended to me of the bookstore. How else would I have picked this book? Something, don't expect witting plot around it. Story of a girl following it, where she's trying to understand her life but not quite understanding. The choices that she makes is putting her back to the same life that she does not want. Right when she enters a midnight library, which is the concept or which is the place here between life and death, only when she enters and goes through its course, it runs its course. And so at the end, she understands that whatever she's running from or whatever she is trying to escape from is what she needs in her life. Lots of Instagram worthy quotes, paragraphs that you can leverage. Simple read, yet profound. I cannot stop talking about this, cannot recommend this book enough. Cloud Cuckoo Land, Anthony Doerr, a recommendation by the librarian in the store. Love this book through and through. When it's like Greek mythology, dreamland, fantasy world in book. Who loves childhood stories, someone who loves Greek mythologies, you mix it together. This is the product. Again, a whimsical read. Indian author that I tried after a really long time. A lot of small things by Arundhati. Went into it blindly, but I was also a bit, I won't say influenced, but I also gave in to the hype that there was for this book in the bookstore grammar community. I won't say it disappointed me. I won't say it was a smooth start in the beginning because I was pretty confused of the writing at first. It was not sitting with me because there was so much of saturation in it. It was like telling one thing again and again, but alignments of the stories, it was not quite landing properly for me. But that one thing that I kept doing with this book is kept reading it. And that's when it made sense. It was only when I was nearing the end of the book, that's when the story was unfolding, and that's when I was understanding the characters more deeply and why the way they are, what makes them who they are. Thing I would recommend with this book is keep reading it. Saddening of a book, yes, extreme layers of sadness on reading this, and by the time I was done reading it, I'm like, I'm finished. The story in this book is haunting because that house that is mentioned in this book, I felt like it haunted me for quite some time. But it's a wonderful book. Give it a read. Winners by James Joyce. This book challenged me on so many levels. First was the pace. Second, the rich Irish literature. I've not read anything quite like that. I found enchanting was the concept of the windows, like how the author has also portrayed of storytelling from, sitting by the window and looking outside and looking at the world passing by. So that concept, a story around it, it was pretty enchanting for me. I know I mentioned about this book is that I want to experiment it, something like I want to revisit all the stories in this book, I don't know, after a few years, and I want to see how I perceive them. These in this book, the characters in this book are the characters that you would meet in your daily life, like, but you would not notice them. They're just passing you by, they're just crossing the road, or maybe just walking next to you, completely unnoteworthy. Those are the characters that shine in the stories mentioned in this book. My favorite story in the book is the death, which is the last one. Thinking process, the thoughts, I know for sure they went to a next level on read after reading this. And why Cillian Murphy, recommends this book so much. The hype, it's worth it. Last is We Are Not Strangers by Josh Tuninga. One thing I want to tell you about this book is the format. It's a brilliant format. It's a comical format. It's a style of a book that I've not read for ages. Now the format looks like pretty comical, but the story in this book is profound. I liked how the author has mentioned the date and the place, makes realizing the plot clearly. I'm based off Seattle, and before I came to Seattle, I had a book everything about the Seattle, like the places to visit, foods, culture, you name it, and that was a book with everything it had in it. This book, it tells you a different story. It tells you a history of Seattle, the central part of the Seattle, which I had no clue about, which I had no knowledge about. This book shines the story on that part, and I always used to wonder how the cherry Japanese blossom and the seafood culture, it shines in that part of the Seattle. This book shares the reason why. Book that you can read it in one sitting. The book, if you want to learn more deeply about Seattle, the history behind the central location of the Seattle. So give this book a read. These were all my largely bookish reactions about the books that I read in the month of April. See you on the next one. Bye bye.